Just answering questions with WAPTEK. Since you're doing these Q&A vids, what's your take on Building 7? Have been looking at archives, couldn't find it. He was referring to my channel apparently here. My opinion of Building 7 is the reason that I stopped listening to September 11th conspiracy theorists, because all of them at one point, except for people who weren't really in the know about this, all of them lied to me and to everybody else. Every single blasted one of them. Building 7 is a control example in an experiment. Virtually the entire thing that caused Building 7 to cave in, if you want to do it this way, can be just attributed to fire. And the reason is you don't have the confounding variables of an airplane hitting it. Pieces of a building hit it. But that's a little bit easier to map out. It actually is. Because you can see the mechanical damage on the outside easier. Or at least you can find out where it was. I also like to point out that this was the straw that broke the camel's back as it goes through the eye of a needle. I could not tolerate being told you're a shill because you're asking too many questions from a bunch of people who are trying to investigate something. I'd ask, why did you leave out this variable? Why did you leave this out? Why did you leave out the fact that someone's editing the video to where it looks more like it's supporting your assertions? Why not show everything? Banned. Meanwhile, I don't know if you notice this, the only reason you'll get banned from a reasonable group of people's website discussing it, who aren't conspiracy theorists, this is a key component. The only reason they will ban you is if you just harass people and don't actually contribute to the discussion on topic. You have to be on topic and contribute. That's it. Lots of people don't agree with me. One of my favorite people on YouTube doesn't agree with me on this. That's fine. We don't have to. But no dirty tricks. No twisting of logic. No psychotic backbends. But bending your brain around this is actually pretty simple. Isolate it from everything else. Treat it like a separate incident. Ignore the towers. Except for the fact that pieces of them hit Building 7. When did the fire start? Blah, blah, blah. How much fuel was in the building? What would that affect? How? Why? All of the fuel, not just the parts you want to talk about. You have to learn a bunch of subjects. The main thing I did is it's the basis of falsifiability used by conspiracy theorists. If one stage of your process to achieve enlightenment in a subject is faking evidence, I don't have to listen to you anymore. It's the reason I'm very deferring on people sometimes. And sometimes it's inappropriate. Sometimes the person is simply repeating what they've gotten a hold of because somebody did a synopsis and gave them a bunch of information and links better than I could. The trouble is that the assertions don't match what's in the links. And I explained to them, got to look here and here. Well, no, they don't match, but the others do. No, those are the links for that assertion. Please check every single assertion and what it comes from. And after a while they come back and they're like, I don't want to study this anymore. First of all, it's too hard. Second, I've been banned. It's a pretty consistent thing. Anyway. But in my opinion, if you want a conclusion, I don't okay, the 911 Commission report, Warren, it's like all the others. It's it's a starting point, and try not to point and scream. But if you study it yourself, you figure out that no, it would be, there's no extra variables needed for Building 7 to come down. It doesn't need explosives or thermite. Thermite is not an explosive. No. When people point to the page that's been hammered together in Wikipedia, no, it's not a freaking explosive, okay? It wasn't at the time, and it still isn't, okay? All right. But when you get all the variables out, it's literally just a building caught on fire and caved in. That you can do that as the experiment in your head. Yes, it does require mechanical damage to trigger it in the pattern it did, but it still would cave in about like that. So anyway. Next, honest question. I see a lot of idiocy in your comments. My comment sections are my comments. Anyway, next. Thought in one of your vids you mentioned you voted Trump. I actually did this as a supposition. I couldn't find the comment, but I know I've done it before. If I voted Trump, would you change your opinion towards me or something like that? I actually technically, according to the paperwork, voted for Hillary. I was really voting against Trump and hoping Bernie Sanders would be there. But anyway, but I did not vote for Trump. But another assertion I have said is, if it was X number of years ago, decades ago, Donald Trump would have made a much better president than literally everybody. I mean, we needed him to go back in time, grab that version, bring him to us. Something happened to Trump. It's like Forbes, look him up. Interviews before, interviews after. I forgot which. That guy. Anyway, next. How then do you state gun laws need to be updated? Do you mean more oppressive or less? I myself have no dog in the fight. My opinion of this is that we need to start looking at this as what is going on now and what do we want to achieve. Everybody who owns a gun and wants to go hunting and plinking and defend themselves, which are the main things. Nobody wants to, I want to own a gun so I can rob a building, a bank, or I want to get a gun so I can take over the country. Okay, there are that variety of person. They shouldn't be allowed to have a gun. So they're not going to agree to this. But they're the ones who want to literally agitate for overthrowing our government. I don't want them to have guns. But all of them are blowhards and they don't do anything. We've only had like 2 incidents where we've had actual insurrectionist BS. And it was, except for one really sad outcome, pretty much comical and stupid, and really just got themselves into trouble and acted as an exercise for the military or police in the area. Yeah, I'm still upset about Finicum dying. What a damn waste. He should be doing videos now. He should be alive now, ticking off the government, which was the point. But no, we ended up with freaking Hopalong Pete didn't get a scratch. There is no God. Wrong one. I won't discuss. Anyway, let's just get on with this. No, I don't want more oppressive. I want more effective. I don't want guns going into I want people to temporarily lose ability to have access to guns when they're losing it. And I want us to have a society where people don't worry about losing their ability to defend themselves. That is what people worry about when it comes to guns. Gun laws need to be updated because, not gun laws, but the presumption we have in the society that it's a right to keep and bear arms to avoid tyranny from our own government. That part is a twisting up of things. Yes, I do agree the government should be terrified to try to overthrow the populace. That's the whole point of us voting, even if it does get ignored and messed with. They should be terrified of outright doing something. And they are. But having people who fantasize about overthrowing our government within it, that's a bad thing. But again, they just play act. For them, it's a game. Let's let it stay a game. I'm only in favor of having it become a very consistent set of rules. I'd rather it be done state by state, but we may have to actually do this federal, where we decide, okay, we're going to have a secured double-blind method for testing things. I've actually discussed this before, but basically a go-no-go test to see if you can buy a gun, and go-no-go test if you can get ammunition. If you're going to put restrictions on people, put them on. If you're not going to restrict them, why have... I mean, what's the point of having these rules about registration if you're not going to actually do something to prevent shit in the first place? I don't know how to implement this. We have to figure this out. We have a very concentrated population buildup problem now. We're getting concentrated population behaviors. Rats in a cage. And that's happening. And oh boy, Facebook isn't helping it. Next. Wow, people are truly ignorant, just stupid beyond belief. Labeling them sheep is an understatement, excuse me. The majority are simple-minded, grossly brainwashed, and incapable of seeing, let alone capable of understanding the big picture, finding the underlying truths, and realizing the intended final solution. The clues, the facts, the blueprints are literally hiding in plain sight. Sadly, the majority will only see or begin to understand the finale, comprehend their orchestrated fate after they silence the majority that are capable of seeing or understanding the true enemy and its plans. Once silenced, you blindly hand over the final key, henceforth removing the final and most important layer of protection we have. Tapioca pudding. Anyway, no, so go on and give them what they want. Hand over your sovereignty along with who and what truly protects it. but expect no remorse, no pity for your ignorance and stupidity once you're finally capable of seeing and understanding truth. Just cease to exist, realizing that you've not only been played, but also turned a traitor and literally killed the only hope humanity had. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Go on, give them the key. And then he puts in democide and a specific number. 170 million something, probably people. Okay. Except for the last part, some of the last part. This is one of those epic rants I wanted to let post. I think I did. Okay. But tell us how you really feel about tapioca pudding. Thank you for posting that. I'd like to know where you're driving at. Please post below it. Make it a thread. Let's talk. Give. There we go. Next. This is another false flag attack by the U.S. rogue government to take our guns from citizens. They haven't stopped their Agenda 21 guarantee. How many memes? We need a meme counter. Ding, ding. They're also going to have another false flag attack on the East Coast to start the next war. U.S. military... It's West Coast, not East Coast. Is this a rap rivalry thing? The U.S. military has gone rogue, and they're running the news media too. They're all in on it, including the banksters paying them. I have the banksters. You didn't say Jews. Let's see if he says it. And covering up the pedophiles. Takedown. It's the oldest trick in the book. Now this sounds like an interesting trick you're turning here. Okay, next. Get people to look over there, check out some of their QAnon posts. Just wait till they roll out the 5G network, then they will micro you silently. It's not how 5G works. 5G has a much more sinister purpose. No, really. I told you I was going to do this vid. Just waiting for someone to bring it up. So anyway, I'll bring that up in a minute. Anyway, micro. Yeah, we have been seeing the pattern since JFK and Vietnam War. Pearl Harbor, you put in Peel Harbor. Peel Harbor, I'll use oranges. Oklahoma bombing, that was done by two people who were anti-government, by the way. Waco, again, that actually, I'm not going to bring up Waco, it makes me angry too. 9/11, and many other school shootings, bankster fraud, vaccines that cause autism, they don't. Chemtrails, they don't do anything. Military-grade, high-energy weapons used to start fires in California, that's not what happened, you're ignorant. Media news fraud. Okay, you got that one. The law is corrupt for money from the banksters. Okay, that's accurate. You forgot the politicians. Throw them under the bus too, please. The law doesn't stand for principles anymore. They work for their own destruction. I told everybody about net neutrality being important. How many of you have noticed? Someone else did it already. I've noticed it in town. I didn't talk about it. Your bandwidth is being lowered. Every high-speed network in Portland, Oregon is throttling down about 3% every few days. It works out to be about 5% a week. The bandwidth is not being diverted for a new network to make the 5G work. It is being diverted to drive you to want to pay more. Every city has a monopoly company running the high-speed networks. They do a deal, a dirty deal, underhanded deal with your local government. Then you can't find a competitor, so they take forever to give you the hookup. They charge you money when they're not giving you anything to work with. And we all live on the internet now. No, I'm not going to have my own internet connection. I pay for it by going to a coffee shop and paying for coffee. They're screwing over large corporations now. I've heard people sitting at a table complaining about their network not having enough bandwidth, and they're screaming about it. And they have hookups almost to the backbone. You guys didn't want net neutrality laws to stay in place that have been in place since the beginning, being enforced, so this couldn't be done. You don't control the throttle. You don't even get to turn on the ignition anymore. I told you so. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Oh, and the guy at the FCC is getting investigated because he's corrupt too. Just throwing that in. Goodbye.